Lakers fan, huh?
Yeah, Coach. After reviewing the film, anything jump out to you that maybe didn't during watch or coaching the game live?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things, but first and foremost, we have to do a better job of playing the game, doing it exactly right how we're supposed to. We had too many errors in some of our fits on defense and some of our support on defense. Offensively, we had too many errors on taking care of the football and protection. We made a couple bad errors on protection, but it still showed up that we played extremely hard. We were very, very competitive. I liked the way we played with emotion and excitement, but we got to actually play the game of football better to get a win like that.
You mentioned y'all had changed some things up with taking the game on the road and everything. Now at home, does anything change as far as pregame routine and all that kind of stuff, game day?
It all changes a little bit just because I'm doing a schedule I'm familiar with. So the way we practice and the things we'll do on Friday and Saturday. So it'll be very similar to what we did last year on the road, our last week on the road, except for the fact we don't have to jump on an airplane and fly. But we'll try to keep it as a normal schedule now.
The team has done a good job of flushing the game and turning focus.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I like coming in on Sunday. I like to get in and have a good team meeting, go through the special teams, then watch the entire video with our position coaches. And then we went out last night, and the guys that played a lot in the game, they ran and conditioned mostly to get the soreness out. It really helps get the soreness out. Helps you get better for today. And then we practiced the young guys, the guys that didn't play a lot. Now, not some of the guys that played some in the game still practiced to work on improvement and getting better. And some of them wanted to practice instead of condition, and I'm always all for that. I thought it was good. I think that's what helps you get the game behind you and move forward. So today's an off day for them. And then tomorrow when we get grinding, everything's just on A&M.
You mentioned some of the miscues up front on the offensive line, and it seemed like Tennessee did a lot of blitzing. Is that kind of where you saw that, like maybe missing assignments on blitzing and everything?
I mean, some of it like came on third down, what you're talking about on the show looks and different things they do. And, you know, although I was very, very proud of us only having one penalty, not having any pre-snap penalties with that noise and in that stadium, which is actually pretty amazing. We did have a couple communication errors, and that's what showed up is, you know, the guard not telling the tackle one time and the other tackle not getting the call one time, and it ended up being a communication issue, although we didn't get a penalty on it. One of them, maybe it would have been better to get the penalty than the miscommunication, but for the most part, they did a nice job of handling the atmosphere and handling the noise, and I thought that was a nice job by Talon and of course our offensive line.
And then for Texas A&M, I mean, they're kind of the core of their team is that offensive and defensive line. What impresses you the most, maybe looking at their film on those two sides?
Yeah, they still have good speed on the defensive front. The ends are guys that can really rush the passer and come off. We played against a couple of them last year. One of them changed his number. He looks faster now, being in a single digit, and has had a really good year. So we gotta make sure we have a way to take care of him. You know, last year they had 3 D linemen that were very, very high draft picks, and they look like they replaced them. So they do a nice job of recruiting there on their defensive front. The offensive front, a lot of those guys are guys that played for me when I was there. You know, they were able to have really good retention, and they're going to have good size and good experience. So we're going to have to do a good job of making sure that we are firm up front, and our linebackers do a good job of fitting the runs.
You were 3-0 against them when the series first renewed in 9 through 10. But they really owned Arkansas in conference play. And you've been there in 23. What have you seen from the A&M program that maybe has allowed them to reach this footing in the SEC?
I mean, that's a hard one for me to answer. I know back when we played them was a while back, and they were always good games. I remember being down 18 at halftime one time and being able to come back and find a way to win. But it's a school with a lot of resources, and they've got a good recruiting base when you're in the state of Texas, and they've done a nice job with it. And I think they got good players, and they've got experienced players up front. We're going to have to play good football to compete with them and have an opportunity to win the game in the fourth quarter.
You mentioned the other night at the game that A&M had a D-line and did similar things to you last year. Can you maybe speak to what the strength of their defense is?
It's definitely their defensive front and linebackers. Their linebackers are really experienced, and they know football. And, the guy that's calling all the calls for him out there, he played as a true freshman as a starter, and he's a guy that really knows the game. They do have an experienced back end, and they do a good job with their safeties getting to the run fits and making tackles barely across the line of scrimmage. So we're going to have to do a good job on how we handle their force and how we handle who's coming down at what safety and making sure we get a body on them.
Have you got any updates on Wooden was hurt on the same play? Aguilar was hurt. And then the guys who showed up on the report last week, Scandrett, Poshka, Oki, those guys?
Yeah, Wooden's doing good. He's okay. Oki will be out for a little bit. Andreas, unfortunately, had to have a surgery, so he's out for the year. And I'm not sure about Scanlett yet. He tried to go last week. He made a couple periods in practice. We thought he was going to be available, and then he wasn't able to finish the practice the next day, so he ended up on that. But there is a possibility that he could be back and ready to go.
Coach, as you looked over the game in terms of the pass protection breaking down on the fumbles, did you see? Just when you look back at it, did you see more on the quarterback holding the ball? Were the receivers not getting open? How did you see that going down?
Yeah, the first fumble was simply not pass protection at all. It was a naked play. Unfortunately, it was to his left, and he's got to know that if I'm in a position where I am with that defensive end and the ball, I just got to tuck the ball in my left arm and get as much as I can. He's trying to overdo it and do a little bit too much. The other one was, was it in his hand when his arm went forward, or was it not? That's a hard one to think. He thought he was going to make a big play, and I don't know. You saw the play, so there's only so much I can say, right?
Understood. So, and then just looking ahead at this game, Marcel Reese, a dual threat guy defensively. How do you go against that and defend that?
Marcel Reed, yeah. Reed, yeah. Marcel, I know well. He was in the meeting room with me every single day, his redshirt year, and he's got tremendous quickness, tremendous speed. He's kind of a playmaker, not your normal just drop back, stay in the pocket and throw the ball. He moves around, makes plays. He can buy time and make plays, and that's a scary part of it is when he moves around and keeps his eyes downfield. We're going to have to really work on plastering our man and staying with our man and not coming off who we have because we see him moving, and that'll be a point of emphasis for us defensively this week for sure. We just got to try to keep him in the pocket, try to collapse the pocket, and not give him room. And if you cannot give him room, then you got an opportunity.
Coach, I have a two-part question about their offensive coordinator, Colin Klein. I mean, you faced him whenever he was a quarterback at Kansas State in the Cotton Bowl. I'm curious, what do you remember about him in that game? And then also kind of what do you make of his system that he runs there at A&M?
Yeah, I always thought he was a heck of a runner with the football, when we had to play him and even years prior to that watching the quarterback runs. And I think he was on probably one of the front ends of quarterback design runs when he was a player, and they did a great job with it. Always had an extra blocker, made it really, really tough. He was a strong physical guy that could really do a great job running the football, and he's done a nice job of adapting to their talent. He seems a little bit different than what he was at Kansas State, and He's utilizing the personnel that he has. It's a great challenge for us. Defensively, we just have to make sure we recognize formations, motions, and try to get a pre-snap key of what's coming.
I guess Sori and Dix had maybe one of their better weeks statistically. Just maybe what have you thought of their improvement and their, the linebacker group as a whole?
Yeah, I think that they did a really nice job in practice. They did a really nice job in their leadership throughout the week. They gave us energy out there. Sori, I think, for the first time all year was 100% healthy. He missed a lot in camp, and he was didn't have the speed and quickness in some of the early games, but he showed that in that game, and he actually showed it all week in practice to be the fastest first guy to the ball and playing with a lot of energy, and that helped the entire defense. And Dix came in and did a great job, and had a really nice game running to the football and fitting runs and being physical. And we need those two guys to play well for us defensively.
The tight ends, they've been really productive when they've touched it. Would you like to get them the ball more?
Definitely. That's a point of interest for us and something we feel like we need to do. We made some calls for him the other night, and they got covered a little bit. One maybe was a PI. He threw I thought it was a nice ball he threw, and he tried to jump and make the turn, and we just didn't get the call on it. But we need those guys to be productive, catching the ball and running after the catch and making plays for us to be consistent and to convert third downs.